Hello, this is Jay Chauhan. I run a mentorship group called Angel Mentorship Group in the Facebook. So hope you'll join it. And to give you a quick background of mine, I've been in the legal profession. I'm a lawyer in three countries: England, India, and Canada. In Ontario, I'm a member of the Law Society here and have worked over 40 years and have been a deputy judge for 24 years. And I'm retired now, so I feel more free to talk about a number of issues, of which one of the issues over all these years that I see the profession society doesn't talk about is the trauma in the law. So the topic today I want to just introduce to you is the trauma in the law. I think we recognize that we have doctors dealing with them, and we see these movies all the time, Grey's Anatomy and all other interesting movies that talk about the doctors dealing with the emergency room, and but we never talk in terms of the lawyers going through the emergency. But I do believe that we have a lot of tension that we go through, in my opinion, even more than what the doctors have to go through. They work long hours, but when they treat a patient, they leave it to nature and the body heals itself. But when we are dealing with the adversarial system, we are engaged in a hostile environment. And if you see it in terms of the evolutionary terms, we are facing the fight and the flight syndrome, as they call it actually, where we want to either succeed and defeat the other party, or we want to escape the problem. But in any event, it's a huge traumatic event. And in a civilized society, we create a legal system that deals with the question of how we solve these legal problems. But the point I want to make to you, and hopefully anybody listening in the group, which is a public and open group, is that the society needs to recognize that we work in a very, very difficult environment in the legal system. So I think how do I perceive this trauma in the law is the topic for today. And I think the way it shows up in the society is that we have a legal a system where the society is willing through taxes to pay for the medical emergencies and look after your health care, especially in Canada, 100% support. But if you look at the legal aid that we have, I think that the legal aid is extremely limited. And in Ontario, most of the time, without going into details, that you look at the legal aid, that it only covers a very basic, if I can describe it as a not a middle class problem, but people who are in the landlord tenant situations, family situations, and situations which are really not the problems of the middle class or the upper class of society where they have the income. But even if you look at the middle class, most of the problems that are dealt with in the legal system, there is no support. And I'll give you a couple of examples today to illustrate the point that I'm going through in my own practice right now. It creates a real dilemma for you as a lawyer, or you, if you're a paralegal, you'll see that as well. So I think in terms of the recognition, the point I'm making is that the society ought to recognize it. And when it comes to recognizing even the billing that we should do and we normally do to the client, you will see a huge amount of resistance by the public when they pay legal bills. I think that is something that I'm encountering all the time. And the other number that is significant is that whereas most of the people need medical help and they have the medical help, a very small segment of the population actually uses the lawyer. But we have the same degree of education and a huge amount of responsibility, but this responsibility is not recognized by very often the clients or even society. So we don't have a proper system of even accessing the justice. in the last month, I was in a university in India, in Gujarat, in a town called Rajkot, and I did a lecture to the LLM class in which I described actually the right to justice. And I feel that in Canada as well, we do not fully recognize the right of the citizen to have access to the court. With the fees that we need to charge to cover our expenses as lawyers is exorbitant. So our dilemma is, what do we do? Do we do a charity and help the clients, or do we charge the fees and exclude a large number of people who need the help but do not have any way of getting to the court system? I'll give you a couple of examples I'm going through right today in the last few weeks, and that'll give you an idea of where we are in the legal system. I have a situation where the client was working in a bank and somebody forged their signature, her signature, and the bank was given the evidence and shown that it was not her signature. Even then, she lost her job, and now she doesn't have income. So she drives a Uber taxi to survive, and the family works around the clock. And then when I say that I'm billing $4.50 an hour, it's just impossible for them to work through the system when your opponent as a bank has unlimited resources, and the decisions made are, from my point of view, extremely unfair to the person who lost the job. And there's ample evidence, actually, in my view, to show that this was not the signature. It was admitted by the other party. But what can the legal system do? The challenge is that you issue the statement of claim, you'll be defended, you go through the process. It can cost $30,000, $40,000 just to reach the point of trial. And when your opponent has formidable resources to oppose you, you're not going to succeed too easily. Another case where a trustee is acting in a conflict where there were two sisters, and his wife was the beneficiary of the trust, and so was the other sister. So he is using the resources entirely for one person, and has pushed my client to a point where she does not have any money for paying taxes, bills, etc. And she feels absolutely an impossible position, without money, without ability to pay the legal fees, to get her remedy, where there is quite a huge amount of money sitting in the trust. And the law is challenging. It involves the civil law, involves the Ontario common law, and how many lawyers do you know that can cover that vast area, have the competence to deal with all the legal issues, and have lawyers in two jurisdictions, I mean civil law in Quebec and here, and then try to help her? So the challenge for me is that, what do I do? How do I do it, actually? So if there's any people in the mentorship group who like to work on this kind of a file and get paid when there is resources to pay for it, I would welcome them, and I'm glad to work with anybody who's interested in working with me in dealing with these challenging ideas. So I hope that was useful, and the main point I want to make is that the legal career is not an easy career whatsoever, as I saw, both as a lawyer and as a judge, and I think the society needs to recognize that issue. Even to be a lawyer is a challenge, and I went through so many challenges to be a lawyer. I ended up being a lawyer in several countries, but to be a lawyer itself in Ontario takes a first degree, a second degree of LLB or JD, and then a bar admission course, articling, and you're exhausted by the time you finish your career. And when we finished, then we have to start launch a practice, and that is not an easy task. But I've supported at least 8 lawyers in the last 6 to 7 years. All of them launched, and there are 3 I'm supporting as the paralegals. And anyone out there who wants support in a mentorship group, please join the group on the Facebook. I won't be able to reach everybody personally, but look forward to talking to you on the Facebook, and leave your comment and join the group, and leave your comments to help the debate. Thank you.